Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to Best Kept Plans. Today's video is going to be a flip through of my 2023 reading journal for the second quarter of the year. I'm also at the end going to include a little bit of something fun with you all, a bit of a flip through. If you're interested in seeing that, please stick around. As I said in my introduction, this is going to be a flip through of my 2023 reading journal. This is an A5 bullet journal from Archer and Olive. It's from their Amy Tangerine collab. The moment I saw this journal on their website, I knew that I wanted it to be my reading journal for 2023. I just absolutely love the cover of this. Again, we're going to be focusing on the second quarter of the year, but I will share with you all some of the pages in the beginning of this reading journal just as a bit of a refresher. As you can see, this thing is super stuffed up, like majorly stuffed up, which I love. As you can also see, it is not white paper, it is craft paper. And that was definitely a concern for me with regards to using this as my reading journal because I've never really worked with craft paper that much before and I was very nervous about it. I will say it's gone really well. I've loved using this reading journal so far this year. Just as a quick look at the intro pages, we do have my quote page and cover page. We do have my reading rainbow, which is something I did in my 2022 reading journal, where I basically have this book stamp from Studio Calico, and every time I finish a book, I fill in one of the books on the stamp. And I do have a key back here. I'm actually filming this about the second to last week of June, so there's definitely still room for me to add a couple of more books on here. I do have my to be read list, which I've checked some things off, but definitely have a bunch that still need to be checked off. One thing in my 2022 reading journal is that I did not leave enough room for my TBR list, so I made sure I had 8 pages in this one, and that worked out great. I do have my book of the year spread, which I kind of did backwards, but that's okay. And then I have my Instagram challenge spread. I still haven't read my Instagram challenge book for June, but I will be doing that soon. Then we're going to get into like the different monthly stuff. And so I am going to cut forward, but I did want to share a couple of other spreads. So after February, I decided to add in this mystery, thriller, and poetry challenge for myself, where I basically read one mystery thriller style book every month and one poetry book every month. And I have done that for January through June. I actually forgot, I haven't put in June for my mystery thriller yet, but I have read one. So that was a fun challenge I decided to do for myself. And then I think it's after March that I decided to do an A to Z challenge. And I have a decent amount of it filled out so far. There's definitely a couple more that I could fill out, but I'm holding off. G is a perfect example. I read a book called The Goal, so I could put that here, but it has the in the beginning, and I'm trying really hard to not have books that have like the or a before the letter that I'm trying to achieve, so we'll see how it goes. After that, we have April, so we're gonna do a flip through of all of these pages here. For April, I went with some bright blue paper in the background, used some really bright fun washi tape, added in a quote over here, and then I did do my April by the Day spread. This is something new for this year and I'm absolutely loving using it. Basically, I write down when I start a book and then the line indicates how long it took for me to read that book. Now, if I cut forward to say like February's, you'll notice I was doing it a little bit differently. I was putting the line like after I wrote the book in and then down, but that's not really accurate because the line that the book is on is when I started it. So I kind of realized that, and so for April you can see that I actually put the line the full length of time that I read the book. I just like seeing how long it takes me to read each book, and also I put a dot on the date if I read that day, and I'm actually happy to say I've read every single day of 2023 so far, which is pretty cool. And then I go into my book spreads. Each page has a single book on it. I include their title, author, genre, page count, quotes, as well as a rating. For this month, I did a little piece of blue paper in the background, some washi tape, the book cover, and then stamped right on the book cover for what book of the year it was. So the first book I read in April was Amazing Grace Adams, and that was my 41st book that I read this year. If there are books that don't have quotes attached, it's probably because they're like an ARC that I got, and so there's not really any quotes on Goodreads yet. I usually go on Goodreads to get the quotes, unless I have like, you know, cornered a page because I really like to quote on that page. So that's why a lot of these aren't going to have quotes yet. I really liked The House in the Pines. That was a surprising one for me. I did actually guess the twist and I was right about it, but it did not take away from the reading experience. It was very fun. I also finished ACOTAR in the month of April, which was super exciting. I feel like I'm slowly but surely getting over my big book fear. This one is the biggest one of the series. It was definitely intimidating. I actually ended up reading it on my Kindle because I didn't want to have to lug that huge book around with me, and that's something I'm going to keep in my mind in the future. Like, I really want to read Crescent City, but I don't think I'm going to purchase the books physically. I think I'm just going to get them on Kindle. I was actually super nervous reading this because for the first like 200 or so pages, I was not a fan. And I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to get through this? Nesta is kind of insufferable still, but she totally grew on me throughout the book, and this ended up being one of my favorite books from ACOTAR. Again, like, this one is an ARC, so there's no quotes on Goodreads yet, so I haven't filled that section in. I read Hamnet, and I loved Hamnet so much. That was such a good one. My mom actually got me that for my birthday. This book is coming out in July, actually. Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. It is absolutely incredible. I gave it 5 stars. Highly recommend. And then towards the end of the month, I actually read several short stories as well, from Allie Hazelwood. Because I want my April recap page to be 2 pages, I had this empty spot here, so I just printed out a quote and put it on there. And then we have my April recap page, which again, my recap pages, I always have them looking like the cover pages. And then we go on to May. For May, I used all of these different washi tapes from Archer and Olive, which I absolutely love and was looking for a reason to use. I did my May by the day page. I did make a little error here, so I had to kind of like put in a scrap of paper to cover that up. And then for this month, I decorated a little bit differently. I used some smaller number stamps. I used some other deco stamps, no washi or anything. Oh, practice makes perfect. This is one of my most anticipated reads for 2023, and I absolutely loved it. I also read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom this month, which I've heard so many great things about, and I did absolutely enjoy them. I love the found family in that story, but I do think they weren't quite as good as I thought they were going to be. I did read Once Upon a Broken Heart, which I also really loved. Went right back into The Ballad of Never After, which I really loved. Bad Summer People is a new release. I did the audiobook of this one. It is fantastic. Highly recommend. This was a standout for me, A History of Wild Places. I thoroughly enjoyed that. That one kept me on the edge of my seat the entire time. And then I have my May recap page, which to me looks a little bit bland. And, you know, that makes sense. Like, the cover page for May is a little bit more bland. It certainly is. But this just seems so empty to me for some reason. And then the last month we're going to be flipping through is June. I put some white pages on here. I kind of wanted to harken back to January. And in my January cover page, I used a floral stamp and then used gel pen to kind of color in some of the areas. And so I wanted to do something similar for June, except I used mild liner to color in. I definitely wanted to go with like a soft kind of pastel palette for this. And I really love the way that it looks. I have my June by the day page here. As I said, I have about a week left of the month, so not totally complete yet. And then for the deco on these pages, I use these new paint stroke stamps that I've gotten, my usual splatter stamp, and then large thin numbers. A bunch of these are arcs, like this was an arc, this was an arc, that's why there's no quotes. I do have to fill in the quotes for this though, because I do have a bunch. This was a new release and I really loved it, The True Love Experiment. This was also an arc which I really loved, The Happy Life of Isadora Bentley. And now I am not fully done with adding in the deco for these pages. So just recently read The Only One Left. That's a new release. 5 out of 5 stars for me. Change of Plans, not as great. The Block Party, pretty middle of the road. And again, I'm sure I'm going to add in a few more books in here because we do have a week left in the month of June. And I do have plenty of pages back here to add into. But that's what my reading journal looks like for the second quarter of the year. Again, I absolutely love this reading journal. It's been so much fun to put it together and to use it, but because it is so stuffed and full and there's still 6 months left to the year, and I don't think I'm going to be able to fit 6 months more of reading in the pages that I have left, given the fact that I at this point have read 78, 79, 80 books. I can't believe that, honestly. I read 100 books last year, and I think I said, like, in one of my first book videos of 2023 that there was no way I was going to read 100 books in the year 2023. Like, I would definitely be reading less than that, and somehow I've read 80 books already this year. So I don't have enough room for another 6 months in here. There's just no way. And that is why I have put together a new reading journal for the second half of the year. So I actually purchased this reading journal when I purchased this one. They're both from Archer and Olive. This is also from the Amy Tangerine collab. And I love this one. I think it's so pretty. And I'm excited to use it for the second half of the year. I'm excited that it looks kind of similar, has a similar vibe, a similar energy to the one that I used in the first half of the year. It is regular white pages, so that definitely makes things a little bit easier. I did try to mimic a lot of my initial reading journal into here. I did want to use these gorgeous big number stamps. They are from, I think they're from Studio Calico. They're called the Alice number stamps, and I wanted these so bad, and they were sold out for so long, and I finally got my hands on them, so I wanted to use them across here. So this cover page doesn't have a quote, but that's okay. I use the same washi tape. I decided to kind of do the inverse of what I did in the initial journal, which is craft paper with white pages, and so here I have white paper with craft pages on top. I did add in a reading rainbow again, but I only have 2 pages on here. I'm hoping that that's going to be enough for the second half of the year. I have new to be read pages, which I will fill out right at the beginning of July. I think I only did 6 this time around because, again, it's only for a half of a year. I did add in my Instagram challenge spread. I also added in my A to Z challenge spread, as well as my mystery, thriller, and poetry challenges. Now, I've been debating about my book of the year spread and whether or not I want to put it in here, or if I just want to continue using the one that's in this journal. Part of me wants to just keep using this one because it's so pretty. The only thing is that all of my other challenges are in my new reading journal, and so I do feel like I should add it in here. So I might be doing that, and then it'll go directly into July. So yeah, I wanted to share with you all that I will be moving into a new reading journal and show you what I've set up for that reading journal so far. Super excited to be transitioning into something a little new, a little bit different. I hope that you all enjoyed this flip through of my reading journal for the second quarter of 2023 and a quick look at the reading journal I'll be using for the second half of the year. As always, everyone, please be safe. Bye-bye.